Hi, this is Sergeant Beast Larson. Welcome to the series CO Life. Today we're going to talk about intake, county jail intake, prison intake, similarities and differences, mostly differences. If you work in a county jail, I'll start with this, which I have recently. The detainees that come in, the arrested folks, come from police officers, come right out of a cruiser. You're counting on a police officer searching thoroughly. Hopefully they have. Occasionally things get missed. Weapons, drugs, tobacco. Sometimes they know if there's a warrant or they're going to jail, they'll try and bring some stuff in, anticipating a several month stay. So you have to be wary of that. There may be some emotional, domestic violence issues coming in. Maybe they're still upset. Maybe they're upset with the officer. Whatever the incident happened, maybe they're in a car wreck, they were drunk, it wasn't their fault, but they got arrested anyhow, that kind of stuff. So they're coming in, you worry about their safety. Are they bringing anything in? What's their mental state? And you ask some basic questions, are you sick? Are you physically sick? Do you have some mental illness? Do you have some disease going on? Are you on medication? Those kind of questions. Now they ask, have you been exposed to COVID? Anybody in your family or friends? Have you traveled? Any COVID risk? And a lot of times they'll say yes, because they want to get stuck in solitary. They want to be by themselves instead of a normal intake cell, which could hold, 10, 12 people. They're playing a game. And the same they do to police officers. They'll come in, oh, I'm having chest pain, I'm having this. Want the nurse to come see them. They want to go right to medical real quick. 101 reasons how not to get stuck in a cell. But yet they don't care about the 101 reasons how not to get arrested kind of thing. So this is what's going through your mind. Your briefing is just that. It's a safety briefing. They come in. You do a good pat down of them as best you can. If you suspect anything else, it goes further. They may sit in a chair where they get a full body scan at a county facility, fingerprinted, get some photographs. If they're not behaving, which is rare, they may get stuck in a cell and then until they calm down and then go through that process. But once they complete, then they're stuck in the holding cell with several other detainees and they're waiting in an assignment or release. And that's pretty much an intake process. Coming in, they pretty much know it's short term. If they've committed some bad felonies, if they get arrested for something real serious like murder, then they know, well, I'm probably going to isolation. I'll keep my mouth shut, I'll come in, they'll take me to isolation by myself, and then I'll be there. And then they're waiting a court process. So that's the mentality. When they come to a prison, and I worked 4 years at a max security prison, it's different. Coming to our prison, down in Georgia, they've already been at Georgia Diagnostics, the intake prison. So they come through the intake diagnostic prison and go through their mental, their physical evaluations, all that kind of stuff. All these little questions that get asked, and they're coming from a county facility. So they've been searched, they've been strip searched coming in, which is different than a county intake. They're not all strip searched. Coming to a prison, they get strip searched. They're supposed to be. So by the time they leave diagnostic after 2 to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, and they would come to our prison where they're assigned, they come on a bus. They would be received by the CERT team, and I had the privilege of spending a year on the CERT team before promoting to sergeant. We'd go out there with our CERT vests on, and it's not a CERT vest. I had shoulder surgery, bicep surgery a couple days ago. They come in walking all like this, CERT guys, we loved it. We come in, we had a great speech. Maybe I'll give that speech in another video, I'm not sure yet. They come off the bus, it's all fenced in, you've got your officers on the bus, the 2 drivers, the team. They bring them in that fenced in area, bring them out one at a time. They're coming in belly chains, wrist all tied, cuffed together, not tied, ankle chains on, leg irons, all that stuff comes off. They come out of the bus, walk around the bus, and the CERT guys greet them. And it's kind of like military kind of thing. There's a lot of yelling, do this, do that, go here, go around the bus, keep your hands behind your back, stop talking. And they're trying to show control. In a county jail, you don't have to do all that stuff. They come in one at a time, and it's that little bit of safety and going through your questionnaire for your supervisor for the intake process. Not at a prison. It's not about that. They're sentenced to doing many years of life. So it's immediately the mind games, the control. Get around the bus, line up, turn around and face the wall, everything out of your hands. Once everybody's lined up and the property is in front of them, you have them turn around. You know, that's when the CERT guy goes through a good speech. And that's like a rite of passage. New CERT guys learn this from the old guys, and then it's their turn. They get to give the speech, deliver it, you know, with great, what's the word I'm looking for? Discipline, intimidation, being informative, yes. Letting them know how things are going to be at your prison, that kind of speech. Then they come inside the door, and that's when they would get separated. They would talk with a mental health counselor. They would see the medical to get cleared, have their medical records, go through things, be strip searched, you know, one at a time in there, and then whatever uniform they had would be changed and be assigned to what we had in our prison, kind of thing. Now, county jail, them coming in, unless they fought with the officer, you know, 98 out of 100 intakes in a county jail are peaceful. Intakes coming in at a prison can be anything. We've had them come in and our lieutenant turn around and they're fighting and he's spraying people and spray's going everywhere. We're grabbing people, taking them in, out, separating them. There's been many use of forces just during that 1 year I was on the CERT team for intake. You know, they've traveled on a bus maybe 8, 10, 12 hours. You got to start thinking about gang stuff. Right away on the buses, you know, they've established who's in what gang, who's not in the gang. You know, what's what. Any gang wars, you know, are the Crips and the GDs going at it in the state? Something like that. Maybe things have started and the first chance they get out of all of these chains after the strip search lined up on the wall, they're going to fight. We had one time in a fight and it was one inmate hit the other inmate because the other had testified against one of his family members 2 years ago. So he held that grudge for 2 years and started a fight right there. So you never know. And you never know as an officer or a CERT officer or the medical officer, you know, what they're going to do and when. Strip search completely and thoroughly because they'll bring stuff in from the other prison. Maybe they were assigned that from, you know, their gang down at Diagnostic. Hey, you need to bring that tobacco when you go up there to Hayes, where I was at. So there's a lot that goes into that. Once they get through that process and they get their assignment from the computer, you know, one of the lieutenants or the shift OIC will tell you, you know, and us CERT guys, we'd take them down and deliver them to the buildings. You know, we would take, you know, we would split up. Some take the ones going to the tier units, the behavior units, and others, we may line them up, have a big pulley cart with their property and a mattress rolled up, pillow, bedding, and wheel down to the, you know, go down there. We hit A building for A1, A2, and the booth officer is there, and the floor officers come out. We'd say, hey, we've got this for you, you know, one for A1, and here's two going to A2, you know, and so on and so forth around the buildings. Now, here's the other challenge that county doesn't have to deal with like a prison. Many times they get down there and it's the moment of reality. And from the time that a person commits a criminal offense, mentally and emotionally, there's like, I did this, am I going to get caught feeling? So they go mentally and emotionally through a lot, and then there is an arrest. Maybe they stay in jail till they go to court, maybe not. So there's the crime, there's the arrest, there's the court, eventually there's sentencing, and eventually they're going to end up in prison. So there's at least 5 big emotional, mental states they go through. So they may get down to the dorm and realize, hey, they're about to be put in this dorm. People are hollering out the window, they, you know, fresh meat, all kind of stuff they're yelling, many different names they call the newbies as they come in. And here, you know, we're CERT guys, we're getting everybody down safely, keeping the walk clear, everybody else away from them so they can get in. We're with the dorm officer. We want to take them inside, get them into the room, then we'll leave the dorm. And these inmates, they'll start panicking like, I can't go in. And they may try and start a fight with us, which has happened several times, want to turn and spit or, you know, throw something or come over and try and swing or kick at us because they want to get locked down into segregation, into isolation segregation. ISOSEG as they call it, or go straight to a tier 1 program. They're afraid to be in a dorm. They realize, hey, I can't be in there. They got a hit on me. I mean, somebody's put a gang order out to assault or kill them. They may go inside a dorm and get inside and they're like, hell no, I can't be here. And then out the door they go. They go running out that door. And, you know, numerous amounts of problems can happen right there at the threshold of that dorm, the doorway of the dorm. So you have to anticipate that. It's not just an easy drop off. We're not passing out groceries, you know, to senior citizens like that. Not doing that. We're not a runner. You're delivering people to their new housing assignment. And that's the key words, housing assignments. I only have one hand to do that with. So you got to think about that. Huge difference. So for those of you that work in a county jail and you've went through this intake process and your fingerprints, it's much lighter atmosphere. You know, people might be laughing, joking, oh, I did this, I got arrested, I'll be out tomorrow or later. And it's lighthearted. You don't do that stuff at a prison. When they're coming in, they're coming in. In is in. There is no out. It's only in. It's a one-way ticket for years and years and years. 10 years, 20 years, you know. We've had them come in 17 years doing life without parole. Never a possibility of parole. That's it for them. You know, it's all she wrote. Life without parole. So I just kind of want to talk about the differences between county and a prison, the intake process. Simple to complicated. We've brought in 20 at the prison. It's been very simple. We've brought in 2 or 3 that's been completely complicated. And the 2 to 3 coordinated this on the bus to try and make things difficult, trying to gain their way. They may show out, as we call it, act out, you know, to make themselves larger than life to the gang members, you know, puffing up their chest, doing certain things, calling everything, you know, just their verbal and physical behavior. They're trying, but for somebody that's done 10, 20 years, hard time wrote all over their hands and tattoos, hard times on their head, they look at them like, yeah, they're a poser, they're an imposter, they're weak, they're fake. These are the things that they see, that they do, that they feel. This is what the officers have to experience and be ready for anything to blow up and escalate, or it may just stay simple. And you may have 4 things to do on a to-do list from a sergeant lieutenant. One of them is take these guys, put them in the dorm, and then go to this and that. You may not ever get to this and that. You may have a use of force in a complicated situation or a near riot because you're trying to put somebody in a dorm assigned by somebody else, and the dorm is not having that. They're putting them on a door, meaning they're refusing them. They stand up, line up like this, elbow to elbow, arm to arm, and they look at me and they say, hey, Sarge, we ain't letting them in. I tell them, hey, they're assigned, deputy warden assigned them this and that. We don't care. They're not coming in. So I know at that point, I need to move this inmate I'm trying to bring in away, contact that deputy warden, whoever assigned them there, and say, look, here's the situation going on. This is what I saw and heard, but they lined up and they're refusing. If need be, that deputy warden needs to come down himself, straighten it out, and then take him inside. Think about that. Don't try and push them in and start a war. You can't sacrifice them to the lamb as a lamb to the wolf. You got to do your job, which is to protect the inmates from each other and self-harm, and keep them inside the fence. Sometimes you take a step back, use the brain, get the other people involved that are making bigger decisions than you do, and then let them resolve that problem. So I hope this kind of explains some things. This is just topic 1, intake. It's about 14 minutes here. Hit the like, share, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that red button, post your comments. What do you think? If you've had some wild experiences at the county or at a prison, state or federal prison during intake, put them in the comments section. Let's talk about all these. Let's share together. I've got many stories, but I'm trying to be informative and not just storytelling. I'll see you next time.